Hi, I'm Rui Pinho. I'm both an academic at the University of Pavia, professor on structural engineering, but also I serve as the president of the Eucentre Foundation. The Eucentre Foundation has a number of test facilities. I'll just mention two or three of the most relevant ones. One is a large shake table. It's a shake table of 7 meters times 5.5 meters with a bearing capacity of 130 tons that can therefore test buildings up to 4 stories subjected to earthquake loading. So it can simulate the response of a building up to 4 stories subjected to earthquake loading. Then we have another shake table. It's a smaller one. It's 4.5 times 4.5. However, it has the advantage of having 6 degrees of freedom. So it can test specimens up to 30 tons, so smaller, but under 6 degrees of freedom of movement. And on top of that shake table, we can build a second shake table and therefore actually have what we call a 9D system. We did that together with the youth, with the IUSS of Pavia. And so we can test structures subjected to asynchronous motion both at the base and at the top of the floor. So this 9D testing system, or if you will, the 9D shake table, it's fundamental if you want to test the response of any story above the first. So when you have, you want to understand the behavior of a floor, of the 5th floor of a 10-story building, you need to introduce the ground motion at the base of the 5th floor and at the top of the 5th floor because they are not the same. And so if you want to test the resistance of partition walls, of glass facades, of water piping system, sprinklers, you need that sort of configuration. And so it's really a fundamental facility, and it's very unique, if not the only in the world. It's one of the very few in the world where we can run this type of tests. And this again was critical in the ERIES project because there was a number of tests in the ERIES project that required that possibility of introducing ground motion acceleration both at the base and at the top, and Eucentre could play that role because it had such a facility. So as far as the participation of Eucentre in the ERIES project is concerned, in addition to be a provider of testing facility, so as I was saying before, the 9D testing system as well as the mobile lab where we tested a building on site, we shook an entire building that is on isolators, and we shook it as if it was on a huge shake table. But besides the provision of testing facilities, one of the big advantages, one of the biggest added values of Eucentre participation in the ERIES project was the possibility of interacting with a number of partners that Eucentre had not interacted with up until now. In particular, because in the ERIES project, we also had a very strong presentation of the wind engineering community. We were able to develop interactions and learn with the wind engineering community about issues and details and the problems that we were unaware of. So it really enriched not just our network of connections, but also our knowledge, our general knowledge on problems that are of general interest in the world of civil engineering. Yeah, so if I may, the one thing that I would like to add, which is something that I mentioned in my opening address, is the fact that this ERIES project is sensational. The numbers speak for themselves. We're talking about hundreds of research institutions involved, hundreds of young researchers involved, tens and tens of tests that really advanced the knowledge and provided data, scientific data that will be used by the future generation of researchers. It's a story of huge success. However, right now, we do not have guarantees that this community will be able to continue together with the support of the European Commission and carry out, let me call it, a ERIES 2, the success of ERIES. So the next thing that we need to do now urgently is to really communicate to the European Commission how much has been achieved, how fundamental the results of this ERIES project are for the future of our society, which is becoming more and more demanding in terms of safety against natural hazards, and hopefully convince the European Commission of the need and the value for society of funding the continuation of an initiative like this.